They came in the name of God, tens of thousands, from the hills of France to the plains of Germany, from the quiet chapels of Italy to the bustling towns of Flanders. Men and women, knights and beggars, priests and killers, answering the Pope's call to reclaim the Holy Land. It was the year 1096. The First Crusade had begun. But among the hymns and prayers, something darker stirred. Something that did not kneel before the cross, but hid behind it. A secret movement, a cult, born in the shadows of war, forged by blood, and sanctified not by scripture, but by madness. This is the story of the group the Church never dared name. A brotherhood of crusaders who believed that salvation came not through faith, but through the ritual of death. Not just killing the infidel, but killing for pleasure and sacrifice. It began quietly, like all great horrors do. The First Crusade was chaos from the start. Pope Urban II's words had lit a fire across Europe. But the crusade was not just one army, it was many. Splintered factions marched east at different times. Some were led by nobles and kings. Others were led by zealots. And then there was the People's Crusade. They were not soldiers. They were peasants, monks, women, and children. Armed with sticks and crosses, they marched under the banner of heaven. But they were untrained, undisciplined, and dangerously unprepared for the long road to Jerusalem. Among them was a man named Volkmar. Preacher, they called him. Prophet, some said. But those who marched beside him whispered another word. Possessed. Volkmar preached a vision of purification. That the blood of non-believers was a divine offering. That the journey to Jerusalem was not a military mission, but a spiritual cleansing. And that to spill blood along the way was to earn your place in heaven. At first, his sermons attracted attention. But then, his followers began to act. In the Rhineland, Jewish communities were attacked, not by armies but by Volkmar's followers. Synagogues were burned, families were slaughtered, and over the flames, prayers were sung. Not prayers of mourning, but of exultation. The church distanced itself quickly. Bishops condemned the violence. Letters were sent to Rome, but the damage was done. Volkmar's cult had tasted blood. And once they crossed into Eastern Europe, their methods evolved. They no longer just attacked towns. They began to perform rituals, gruesome acts hidden under the guise of religious ceremony. Captives were not simply executed, they were paraded, interrogated, and mutilated. Some were burned alive while the cult chanted twisted psalms. Others were hung upside down and drained of blood, what they called the wine of righteousness. The cult referred to themselves as Milites Sancti Sanguinis, the Knights of the Holy Blood. And though few spoke of them openly, they traveled among the larger Crusader host, always lingering at the edges. Never too close to command, never too far from carnage. They believed they were chosen to carry out God's true will, not the Church's interpretation. They rejected the Pope's authority. They followed visions. Volkmar claimed he received nightly visitations from an angel named Ion, a figure not found in scripture, who revealed secrets of divine warfare. Those close to him began carving symbols into their flesh, triangles made of thorns, eyes inside crosses, runes that no one else could read. They began wearing crimson robes over their armor. Some abandoned armor entirely and wore nothing but blood-stained tunics. They said protection came not from steel, but from obedience to the voice. When the main Crusader armies laid siege to Antioch in 1097, the Milites Sancti Sanguinis operated in the shadows of the camp. They rarely fought in the front lines, but after the battles, they always came. Some reported seeing them gathering limbs from the dead, burning them in small, circular pits. Others swore they saw them chanting under the moonlight, speaking in tongues, drinking from cups carved from skulls. At first, the commanders dismissed these tales as hysteria, until knights began disappearing, one by one, first from the outer tents, then from the camp followers. Then a nobleman, Guy de Montfort, vanished without a trace. His body was found days later, skinned, suspended in a tree, a thorn triangle carved into his chest. After that, Bohemond of Taranto ordered an investigation. But no one could find Volkmar. He had vanished, along with nearly 100 of his most devoted followers. It was as if they melted into the earth. Some say they went underground, literally, that they found ancient caves beneath Antioch and continued their rituals there. Others say they fled eastward, deeper into Syria, merging with other splinter sects and desert mystics. But the legend didn't die. As the Crusaders moved south toward Jerusalem, stories followed them. Of strange fires in the night, of Christian soldiers found dead, not in battle, but in ritual poses, of whispers in strange tongues echoing across ravines. One chronicler, an Italian monk named Paulus of Vicenza, wrote of a red sect within the crusade that worshipped not Christ, but the suffering of Christ. They believed that pain opened the door to divine truth, that to cause suffering was to bring others closer to God. Their twisted theology spread like rot, and though the final siege of Jerusalem in 1099 brought official victory to the crusade, something else entered with the soldiers. The cult had survived, and worse, it had evolved. Over the next century, fragments of their ideology appeared in fringe movements, heretical sections, secret brotherhoods, whispers in the shadows of monasteries, symbols scratched into prison walls, letters intercepted by the Inquisition, mentioning Ion and the wine of righteousness. The Church never acknowledged the cult officially. To do so would be to admit that something evil had grown within the very heart of Christendom. But some believe remnants of the Militas Sancti Sanguinis lived on for centuries, that they influenced the darker sides of knightly orders, that they found new masks during later crusades, that their rituals bled into the traditions of secret societies in Europe. Even whispers that certain inquisitors were once members themselves. Today, you won't find their name in most books. Historians call them myth, superstition, anti-crusade propaganda. But the symbols remain, in obscure cathedrals, in handwritten journals locked in Vatican vaults, in the nightmares of those who study the First Crusade too closely. So ask yourself this: in a war where men believed they fought for heaven, how easy is it for hell to hide among them? The crusade was not just a holy war. It was a perfect storm: faith, fear, famine, and fire. And in that storm, something was born. Cult not of God, but of blood. And once you've shed blood in the name of righteousness, how far are you from worshipping it? Perhaps the question is not whether the cult existed, but how many believed in it, how many watched and said nothing, and how many today still wear the red robes behind closed doors. Some secrets remain buried for a reason, but here at CIHUYS, we uncover what was never meant to be seen. Now you know about the secret cult that emerged during the First Crusade, and once you see it, you can never unsee it.